Taipei, Kaohsiung, or practically any town in Taiwan, you are never far from a scent that defines the island's culinary soul, the rich, aromatic perfume of star anise, fennel, and simmering bone broth. This is the world of Niu Rou Mian, or Taiwanese beef noodle soup. It is more than just a meal. It is a national obsession, the subject of annual festivals, and a dish that sparks fierce loyalty and endless debate over who makes the perfect bowl. But despite its status today as a Taiwanese icon, its history is a surprisingly modern tale of displacement, adaptation, and the blending of cultures. The origin of this beloved dish traces back to a shaky period in history, followed by the Chinese Civil War in the late 1940s. When the Kuomintang government retreated to Taiwan, they brought with them roughly 2 million soldiers and their families from across mainland China. These families were housed into military dependencies villages. It was here, in these melting pots of regional Chinese cultures, that homesick soldiers from Sichuan province began to improvise. They missed the spicy flavors of home, but had to work with local ingredients. The traditional Taiwanese population at the time largely stayed away from eating beef, as cattle were reversed as essential partners in farming, but the incoming soldiers had no such taboo. According to food historians, the most famous iteration is the red braised Hong Shao beef noodle soup was born from the specific collision of cultures. The soldiers combined American food aid, specifically canned beef and flours for noodles, with Sichuan broad bean paste, Jiang, and local aromatics. They stewed together cuts of meat for hours until tender, creating a hearty, spicy comfort food that was affordable and filling. What started as a makeshift meal in military canteens slowly spread outward, evolving over decades to incorporate local Taiwanese soy sauces and sweeter flavor profiles, eventually transforming from a soldier's ration into the undisputed national dish of Taiwan. Hi, my name's Tyler, and today we are going to be cooking beef noodle soup. You have already learned about the amazing history of beef noodle soup, but it is time for us to cook it. Here are the ingredients. You're gonna need short rib, around 2 pounds, soy sauce, bok choy, dried red peppers, 1 medium onion, some ginger and some garlic, Jiang or fermented bean sauce, and a Chinese seasoning packet. The first step of making beef noodle soup is washing the meat. Washing the meat in beef noodle soup helps all of the impurities of the meat go away, so you could eat the best parts of the meat and make it feel very delicious. But today we are using not the traditional meat, which is beef shank, is usually made by Taiwanese people. But today we are using short rib, and I think short rib tastes the best with beef noodle soup. It's the most fattiest part of the cow. I suggest using this, but you could use beef shank too if you would like. Look how fatty this short rib looks. We have to soak this in water for around 10 to 15 minutes to get all of the blood sucked out of the meat. Then we can boil it. Look how pink it looks now. That's because all of the blood has been drained out of this piece of meat. Since we have cleaned out all of the dirty water, now we have to add in some more water. Then we will boil it for 10 to 15 minutes. As you boil this meat, you will see a layer of scum over all of the water. That means you are doing it correctly. Since we have finished rinsing and boiling all of our meats, it is time for us to cut. When we are cutting, don't forget to cut the pieces into little cubes. Looks pretty good. Got this other piece. Put it into this. The next step is to pour in olive oil inside of the pan and put in the aromatics. We are going to be using ginger, garlic, and dried chili peppers. Some ginger. Don't forget about the garlic. Some more garlic. And lots of dried red chili peppers. Cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes so that all of the aromas comes out of these ingredients. The next step is to put in the short rib. Once the meat is lightly brown, you will want to put some extra ingredients. Now you want to cut the onion, a whole onion, into strips. There we go. Now I am done. Onions. The next step is to put in the Jiang or fermented bean sauce. We have the normal kind and the Sichuan kind. If you don't know what Sichuan means spicy. We'll be putting 1 tablespoon of Jiang inside of this pot. You can get Jiang inside of a Chinese supermarket. 1 tablespoon of the normal kind and another tablespoon of the Sichuan kind. Next, put in 1/3 of a cup of soy sauce and a seasoning packet. I use this brand. Drop in that soy sauce. Dropped in a seasoning packet. Next pour in 6 cups of water. Ah, nice. That's very nicely simmered down. Oh no! We bought the wrong tomatoes. It's okay. We have bought cherry tomatoes. We have just bought the wrong type of tomato. You should buy the 2 large tomatoes. Do not be like us. Okay? So, buy 2 large tomatoes. Plop, plop, plop. Cook all of this for about 1.5 hours on medium heat. Next, we are going to be boiling our vegetables. Right now, I'm using Bok Choy. And we will be putting this into boiling water for about 5 minutes. Plug that in. The next step is to boil your noodles. I am using the Shandong homemade noodles, but you could really use any kind. I am making noodles for 3, so I will be putting 3 of these in. One piece, 2 piece, and 3 piece. Yep. Looks pretty darn good. And some meat. This looks pretty darn good. Put in some noodles, put in some soup, a little bit of bok choy, and some meat.